Now, not only is it good like nettle for women's health, but gravel root is really, really well known for its affinity for the male prostate. Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and in this video I'm going to cover some brief information about two beautiful plants, nettle and gravel root. Now, the information that I share with you in this video is not meant to be medical advice. It's meant to entertain and educate you only. And it's based on my own experience, my own research, and is purely my own opinion. So when it comes to using herbs and herbal remedies for yourself and your family, please make sure that you do your own due diligence, use your common sense, and if you're having any health issues, seek out the advice of a qualified healthcare practitioner. So let's start with nettle. Now, nettle is in the nettle family, and it's also known as stinging nettle. This is because it's got these little hair-like things on its leaves mostly and stalks that can irritate the skin and can kind of give you a bit of a sting. So whenever you're using fresh nettle or you're harvesting it from your medicinal herbal garden, make sure that you wear gloves. In fact, if you are a person who has used nettle and you're familiar with it, you know that that's an important piece of harvesting and using nettle. Now, the part of the plant that you use with nettle is the entire plant. So not just the leaves, the stalks, the flowers, the seeds, but the roots and the rhizomes. Now, nettle is a perennial plant. It comes back every single year. And that's the beautiful thing. It can actually grow and really proliferate. In fact, from my experience, it grows similar to things in the mint family, where you almost have to go, okay, there's so much nettle here that I need to kind of either harvest it or thin it out and kind of get rid of some of it. And the leaves are big, beautiful green leaves, and like I said, covered in these little hair-like things that can irritate your skin. Now, nettle has a long, rich history, and it was actually one of the plants that Hippocrates called and put in a list of highly medicinal plants when he was alive. And so nettle has been around and used for a long, long time. In fact, in the Roman times when they would go to war, they would take the fresh leaves and they would kind of hit their skin with it during wartime to keep them awake. And that's kind of crazy use, right? But there's also in like medieval European times, they would take the leaves and they would hang them up to ward off the evil spirits. So there's lots of fun traditional use, but they also have a lot of really amazing and serious, if you will, medicinal benefits. So I'm going to go over this list fairly quickly, and I would suggest that you do your own research and dive a little deeper into some of the properties of nettle. Now, nettle has powerful anti-inflammatory properties. It's also good for allergy relief, and what I really love is super nutrient dense. In fact, I'm going to leave a recipe below this video for nettle soup, and I've actually made this before. It's utterly delicious, and you would maybe think the opposite. Why am I going to be putting fresh nettles that might sting me into my soup? But when you start processing the leaves of nettle, especially when you're either tincturing them, making them into an infusion, a decoction, or cooking them like in a soup, then that part of nettle dissipates. They no longer sting you. In fact, you can eat them, which is awesome. So it's nutrient rich in vitamins A, C, K, and it has several B vitamins as well. What I also love about nettle is it's good for blood sugar control. It's got diuretic and detoxifying properties. It's good for prostate health, women's health. It supports respiratory function. It's good for bone health, skin health, and hair health. In fact, one of the things I love most about nettle is that you can make a hair rinse that you can use after you wash your hair, and you can rinse your hair with this nettle hair rinse, and it promotes a healthy scalp and hair growth. In fact, also, what I'll put below this video is a recipe for a nettle hair rinse. Super awesome. Worth a try, right? I've actually never tried that, but I think if I get older and my hair starts thinning, that I might give it a try. So nettle hair rinse. Now there's lots of things that you can do with nettle, like I was saying. So you can make a nettle tea, you can make a nettle infused oil, you can do a tincture, you can do a soup, you can do a poultice, a hair rinse, and a decoction. Now, the difference between an infusion and a decoction, this might be a really good time to explain if you're not familiar, but an infusion is more like how you would describe a tea, where you're infusing with hot water, you're letting it either cool down or letting it steep for 2 to 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then taking, straining it, taking the bulk plant material out, and then drinking a tea. Now, a decoction is when you actually let the plant parts simmer for longer, 20 to 30 minutes. And then you can actually take that decoction and store it in your fridge, and I would say up to not longer than 3 days. So if you want to make a nettle decoction, you can boil up the parts of the plant you want, which nettle, we use the whole plant, and then basically you can strain it and then pour it into a like a glass container and store it in your fridge, which is really, really amazing, right? Okay, so that's nettle. Now, the second plant I'm going to talk about is gravel root. Now, gravel root is part of the sunflower family, and this is also a beautiful perennial plant. And this would make not only a beautiful part of your medicinal herb garden, but it would make a beautiful part of your flower garden. So it kind of has a double use, and if you just want to use it to make your yard beautiful, that's also great too. In fact, it reminds me a little bit, just in what it adds a nice pop of color to the plant echinacea. In fact, when I go on my walk every morning, I always see so many echinacea flowers that people have planted because they're ornamental. And I've actually never seen anybody plant gravel root, and this is actually not something I've personally planted, but after really studying this a little bit more, to me, this would be something really fun to have in your flower garden. Now, you can see why. So when you use the part of the gravel root that you're going to use medicinally, it is the root. What's nice is you can just pull out each individual stalk. And what I have seen people do is cut the flower off, and actually use it put it into a vase with some water and just use it as a decoration in your home because it is so beautiful. Now, gravel root has a lot of really great properties as well. So I'm just going to go through them really quick. Kidney and urinary health, anti-inflammatory, pain relief. In fact, you can make a paste out of either fresh or dried and reconstituted gravel root and use it for things like arthritis and gout. And you can make a really nice poultice or a paste out of gravel root to help with inflammation, which is amazing. So pain relief, digestive use, and women's health. Now, not only is it good like nettle for women's health, but gravel root is really, really well known for its affinity for the male prostate. In fact, we've got gravel root and nettle, along with some other beautiful herbs like saw palmetto, in our tincture called Prostata. And this is actually one of my dad's original tinctures that he formulated more than 45 years ago. So we've been making this for a long time. In fact, both of my sons, who are now in their 40s, have been using our Prostata for maintenance, prevention, and keeping their prostate healthy, which to me, this is what taking care of yourself with herbal remedies is all about, is prevention. And I think if we start incorporating these beautiful plants into our daily life, a cup of nettle tea, a cup of gravel root tea, and gravel root is actually pretty bitter, but you can add a little bit of honey to it, you can add a little bit of stevia, maybe a little bit of monk fruit, whatever it is you like to sweeten it, or you can just simply make a shot of a decoction and just shoot it down, or put it into a tincture, which is amazing, right? So it's got a lot of use, not just for women, but for men too. Very specific. You can use them for men's issues and women's issues. The traditional use of gravel root is pretty high in the Native American culture. They've used it for all kinds of things like kidney and bladder issues, rheumatism and arthritis, fever and colds, women's health, and as a general tonic. In fact, nettle as well is used as a general tonic just because it's so nutrient dense. Now, some of the things that you can use gravel root for are a tea, a gravel root tincture. You can also make a decoction, an infusion. You can also make a poultice, like I was describing earlier. And with both of these plants, I will say, if you are on certain medications, like blood sugar medications or liver medications with either one of these plants, I would definitely check in with your healthcare provider if you're on medications to make sure that adding these plants into your routine is going to be safe and effective for you. So do your own due diligence when it comes to using these powerful herbal remedies. But below this video, I will put a recipe for the nettle soup and the nettle hair rinse, which is awesome. And I'll put something below this with using gravel root. In fact, I'll put a little blurb about how to use this as a poultice. Because if you know someone who suffers with arthritis, rheumatism, and especially with gout, because I know that is really painful, keep in mind that most issues like arthritis and gout are lifestyle driven. Many of the issues that we encounter as human beings are based on the lifestyle habits that we have and some that we don't have. If we have a clean diet that doesn't consist of inflammatory foods like fried foods, junk foods, soda, fast foods, we all know that over time, those will eventually catch up with us and give us all kinds of problems, digestive problems, inflammation, all kinds of things. So I'd love to know what you think about nettle and gravel root. I think these are two really beautiful plants to have in your medicinal garden, especially. If you decide to grow nettle, make sure that you maybe put a little barrier around it if you have small children, if you have pets that might wander into your herb garden. I think this is one of those plants, it's a really powerful addition, but I would just make sure that you use caution when it's in your medicinal garden or flower garden. I probably would not add it as an ornamental, but definitely something in your medicinal garden. So I would love to know what you think about nettle and gravel root. Do you have extensive experience with them? Is there something really major I left out in this video? I would love to hear what it is. So I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you enjoyed this little herbal lesson, and we'll see you next time.